Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you had a lovely long bank holiday weekend. We are back with a bang. Your favorite series is here, and we have two legends in the house tonight, and I'm just a lucky fan. Here we go. Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the show. My podcast brother from another mother, Mr. Super Kevin Campbell.
I'm looking forward to this one. I'll tell you, because we got someone on who's got a few stories. I'll tell you.
Stories, not skeleton stories, everyone. Just be very wary of that. Welcome to the show, Newcastle and Wimbledon legend, Fox soccer analyst, and all-round football guru, Mr. Warren Barton. Welcome, Warren.
Thank you. Nice welcome. I have got a few skeletons as well, Kev, so be careful.
No, listen. I didn't mention skeletons unless you want to mention them. But I've got a warehouse full
of it. Yeah, I was going to say you've got an aircraft carrier, but no, all good.
Well,
all good. Nice to see you
look, I wanted to start the show with the two of you. I mean, the trajectory of your careers is very interesting. And we're going to start at the very, very beginning, because I have this picture that I just adore of this young Kevin Campbell. Okay. Fresh-faced.
He doesn't look any different.
He doesn't.
He don't look any different.
I'm telling you, Warren, this guy doesn't age. But let's be honest, okay? Neither do you.
Oh, look at that.
Look at that
Baby Barton.
I always had a suntan, didn't I? Wherever it was,
yes.
It must have been sunny that day. Love it.
I mean, South London tan. Warren, you're smashing it already in life. Good evening to the squaddies. Thank you so much for joining us. And of course, congratulations to Saka for making the England squad. Mm-hmm. This is inside the dressing room, but of course, I'm going to ask the guys two questions before we get stuck into the nuts and bolts of why they're here, which is to take us beyond those white lines and have a chat about where it all started, and we'll go from there. Real quick, KC and Warren, I want to get your take. Surprise Chelsea beat City. Was it all Pep's fault? The Champions League first, and then we'll have a quick chat about England. Kev?
Tinkering again, isn't he? Tinkering again. No holding midfielder. Not sure why he didn't play a holding midfielder, but I'm sure he had a plan. But without it, I just think they're not as strong. And Chelsea are not free flowing. They're not really gonna score too many goals. But if they get in the lead, then they make life difficult. And it's amazing how many balls City put in the box and don't have a centre forward to head it in. So, I think Chelsea deserved it in the end, but Pep shouldn't have changed it.
Warren, as fans, it drives us nuts. Like when you have a winning formula and you have a team that's won the Premier League and been just absolutely consistent and blown everybody away. Why would he do that in the final? Why would he not play Fernandinho or Rodri? I mean, fans just don't get that.
Overthinking it, overanalyzing it. We've seen him not play with a true number with Kevin De Bruyne, and that has worked. So that you can sort of get your head around it. But even in the final, you think, well, you're playing without a striker against a team that tactically are going to be aware, tactically can be switched on. And that could have been an area that they could have maybe exploited, playing with an out-and-out striker, but he didn't until he got desperate towards the end. But the holding midfield player is mind-blowing, because we put Pep on the pedestal, and rightly so. He's changed the rules of the game in theory about passing out at the back and how we've done that and how he's transformed the game. But it just shows you that he is human as well. And, to not play that system, and you could sell with Gundogan, who's been excellent playing in that, if you like, that number 8 position, pushing on, scoring the goals. He looks a shadow of himself, and he's been arguably one of their best players. So it was a real unusual, and it just shows you N'Golo Conte, he plays in that position, and he's arguably the best player on the field. So, even the greatest managers get it wrong, but to get it wrong in that time when they've been tailor-made to win that competition. That's why they've been brought here, not to win the League Cup, not to win the FA Cup or the Premier League, which is a great achievement anyway. He was brought to win the Champions League, and he hasn't done it. And that's going to be another questions and answer he's going to get for a number of years. But, you know, credit to Chelsea. Thomas Tuchel's come in there. He went back a little bit like Arsenal did very much at the beginning. Got the old boys back in the team, made sure the back line was organised. Rudiger was sensational. And then he started sprinkling with these younger players and stuck with Timo Werner to an extent, and Kai Havertz, who I've seen a lot in the Bundesliga. And they deserve it because they run out of ideas, City, in the end. And I think they run out of belief. I said it to my kids when he was watching the game. After 15 minutes before the end, you could see it in their eyes, Kev, can't you? They weren't going to win it. They were so desperate in the end that they was never going to win it. So credit to Chelsea. But Pep must be sitting around wherever he's on the beach thinking, why did I do that? He'll have his ideas and he'll have his philosophies, but he's got that one massively wrong.
It's really disappointing for City fans, of course, but also well done to Chelsea. Credit to them. We'll get into the conversations. Everyone in chat asking Kev if, you know, Chelsea are a bigger club than Arsenal now. There's going to be plenty of time to discuss that.
Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute.
Kev, you got to say yes. You got to say
Chelsea.
Yes.
You know, wait, you talk, Warren, look. Warren, look. Chelsea recently have been more successful, but we're talking about bigger clubs. They're nowhere near the size of Arsenal. Chelsea are not. Chelsea have a billionaire owner who's pumped cash into the football club, and they've had an unbelievable run from Mourinho and all that. Let's have it right. The histories are not the same. They've been great of the last
17 years.
Whatever years. Yes, I agree.
Years.
They have. They've been sensational. Yeah,
they've won two Champions Leagues now, Kev.
Yeah, I know, but that doesn't mean you're a bigger club, does it? Nottingham Forest have won 2 European Cups. Does that mean they're a bigger club than Man United? Or something?
I know. I heard Perry Groves talking to, I think it was Adam Catcheraw on TalkSport about this one, and
you know, so,
Perry had his case set like so well for it.
Look, but I give Chelsea credit. You have to give Chelsea credit because it's not easy, even though you got money to spend it. And to win these trophies, the biggest trophies, it's not easy. But Abramovich has done it. He coveted that, and you know he's made the necessary moves. And look, he ends up with another Champions League. Fair play to him.
Yeah, you have to say that as well. I mean, he got rid of a legend with Frank. I mean, talk about being ruthless. We've been on this podcast and spoke about Arteta sticking with him. Is it the right? They said to Frank, out, get in, we'll win a trophy. They've won the Champions League. I mean, that's what top business people do, and he's a businessman. He's about being successful, so he is.
And Warren, they could have won the FA Cup as well. I mean, they blew that one a little bit, didn't they? But yeah, I mean,
and they're going to spend again as well.
They are. They're going to go spend again. So someone in chat said they've got the best and owner and the most ambition, and there's no denying that you can't say that. And also, I guess when you see them achieve, I mean, they've even won the Europa League. I mean, let's not forget that. And the Premier League several times. So that managerial revolving door, though, Kev, has served Chelsea quite well. And their ambitious owner has delivered. Yes.
Sophie, look at the managers that Chelsea have had. World-class managers. We've seen Ancelotti go back from Everton to Real Madrid. We've seen some of the top managers in Europe. Some of them have been in and been sacked after they've done well because...
I know, but they won the Champions League with Di Matteo and they won the Europa League with Benitez.
The relentless pursuit of trophies. Because why? Because he's got the money to be able to do it. And the owner is not going to stand for second best.
Yeah. I'd take it. I would take Chelsea's method over the last... This is another show because it's not why we're here today. But I would as an Arsenal fan, I would take what Abramovich has done at Arsenal, 100%. I would. After the Wenger era, like when he should have gone in 2014, after the first FA Cup, maybe the second one. I don't know, Warren. I would. Why not? I mean, look, they're just serial winners.
Exactly.
Well, you need an owner for that.
Yeah, I mean, Kev said it there. They've got an owner that's aggressive and ambitious. You know, we Newcastle and Arsenal have got owners that have got money, but they're not very ambitious with it. They're very conservative with their money. So That's why our teams are probably languishing mid-table and fighting relegation. But Abramovich has got this DNA. You know, you either go one way. You know, you either have a coach that you build the philosophy around the team, like Arsene Wenger. I think them days are gone though, Kev, with Arsene Wenger and Sir Alex Ferguson. It's about what have you done for me now, and I think that's how it's going to go. But you know, if you have got an ownership that Harry is, and that's in there. Steven Gerrard said it. It's in their DNA. You know, when you go there, you don't buy a house, you rent one. If you're the manager, because but you like Kev said, you've got every access to tool you need, but you know you've only got 6 or 7 weeks if it starts going wrong. So start getting the stuff packed up if you start losing a few games and go. But if you know that going into it, but as a Chelsea fan and as a player, that's been a question. Now, with all due respect, he maybe won't get in too many of, you know, Man City's team or Man United's team, maybe looking at him, but look at the trophies he's won. He's sitting there having a coffee in the morning with the Champions League trophy. So in Porto, so it just shows you what that work ethic and sticking together and players evolving and understanding, you go with it. So there's one way of either developing and we have an identity of the club, or we just go and buy it and get, and that's the world I think we live in at the moment. It's just get it in, get it out, get someone else in. I mean, with all due respect, Pep's not developed the academy at City. He's got in there and said, I want everything laid out for me. And that's what he said the other day. I've got everything I need. And that's the coaches that you're up against. And that's why a little bit with Klopp, you see him coaching and trying to get the best out of it. But he's going to stand one day and say, look, I need to be backed because the top players want to play with the top clubs.
Warren, don't forget, Klopp turned around and said, he had a go at the spenders, the Man Cities and Chelseas and Man United spending money. He says, if I have to do it like that, I'll give up. Next minute, he's bringing in Van Dijk and Alisson and all these guys. Because you're snookered if you don't, aren't you?
Kev, you know, when we started playing the game, right, it was never about money or cars or anything like that. But as soon as you got it, Kev, you got that big car, you got that big watch, and you went, I'm having a bit more of this. So things change.
You got it right as well, Warren. I heard it. You heard it.
I absolutely love it.
The dressing room, but the mentality stayed the same. It was about camaraderie. You know, it dovetails us nice into the dressing room, Warren, because the characters and the characteristics of a dressing room, I think sometimes the fans don't understand. Fans are on the outside looking in, kind of, Warren, and they don't know some of the characteristics and the characters that you need to be able to go across that white line and perform every week. Because let's have it right, Warren. Not all the time you're 100% fit. During the season, hardly you're ever 100% fit. So a lot of it is mentally, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you know, you go into the pre-season and you need so many different aspects, you know, characters of a Vinnie Jones or a John Fashioon that we had, and then you have the quiet players of Neil Sullivan, Chris Perry. So you have so many different aspects of going into a pre-season and going along and knowing that each one of you has got to play your part. And at the beginning, you know, it's like Kev as well, the first 11 sort of pick themselves, and you have to then make sure the other players that are around there that are maybe not in the manager's eyes, so keep them engaged as well, keep them involved. And, you know, whether you've had an argument with someone at home, your missus, or the dog's not well, whatever, as soon as you get in that locker room, you have to put that aside. And that's very, very difficult for some people to do it. We're a little bit of that older generation where, you know, you have to fight for everything that you've got. Nothing was given to us. And now it's a little bit different, you know, and we have to accept that as analysts and ex-players. But there's still the same philosophy should be that you work hard, you have that togetherness. And Chelsea have shown that, you know, in that respect, just going back to them. But you do have, as you rightly said, you need to be mentally tough, mentally fit. And it's not easy. You know, I think the PFA, I was chairman for the PFA a couple of years. They need to do a better job with younger players now. We never had social media, you know, which was probably a bloody good thing. And we never had cameras on the phones until the later
for sure when you guys were playing.
So that was a better thing. So, you know, we would have, I mean, we have social media now, Kev, me and you, and I wake up in the morning, there's a couple of expletives thrown at me, and I laugh, you know, but other people can't accept that, you know, it's like, oh, why have they said that to me? So that's a little bit of my upbringing and how we was, you know, get ready for games, pre-season, and characters, you know, that's what makes us, you know, makes you what you are, your character, how you define yourself, when you're growing up and the areas that we lived in, and and how we live our lives now. So that's no different to football and obviously working now what we've gone through.
So let's park England for a minute. We could do that at the end because you guys are on a tangent here and I love it. Can you both explain to me then, before we take you way back, Warren, how is it that Lampard kind of lost? Maybe he's not as tactically astute as Thomas, Coach Tuchel. Kevin Hatchard told me how to pronounce his name and now I've just totally forgotten. But anyway, how is it that Chelsea looked lost? I think we were only a point behind them. Maybe we were even a point ahead of them when Lampard got sacked. You guys have been in that situation like mid-season where someone gets sacked and a new manager comes in. How has he done this? How has he galvanized them to an FA Cup semi-final and to win the Champions League?
Well, he had good players. There's some good players there. So, Kevin touched on the point earlier on that, wherever you are at Chelsea, you've got plenty of money and you've got some good players there. Mendy, the goalkeeper, was a good signing. I'll just quickly go back to when we had Ruud Gullit at Newcastle coaching us in the sexy football. Obviously an ex-Chelsea manager as well. Come to our place. We was going nowhere. He just wanted us, Kev, to play the Dutch way, pass. And we had Alan Shearer, number 9. He just wants to score goals. So long story short, we get beat by Sunderland at home. Ruud gets the sack that night. So Bobby Robson comes in on the Thursday morning. 2 things he said to us as a group of players. And one of them was Alan. He said, "Why do you keep showing for the ball?" And he said, Alan being Alan Shearer said, "Well, that idiot keeps telling me to come short for the ball." So we went, "I don't want you coming short, face the goal." He said, "The rest of you, give him the surface, give him the ball. Well, as soon as you see it, give him." It's like with right to you. If you got, it's not a problem. Just put the ball to you and right here. Lee Dixon made a living out of it, so it ain't difficult. You know what I mean? So just get the ball forward and let them do it. So we go and play Sheffield Wednesday with the likes of Des Walker in the team, excellent team. And we haven't done hardly any training session. But what your point is, so if it was just a different voice, we beat Sheffield Wednesday 8-0. And then that following season, we qualified for the Champions League, where we was like mid-table doing nothing. And we had arguably the best striker ever to play in the Premier League when he got in the Hall of Fame. So it's a different voice. What Thomas Tuchel did, like I remind you with Wenger, he cut the players in. He got like Aspilicueta, the older players, the old guard in, and that gave him 5 or 6 games of stability. Remember, we were saying clean sheets, winning 1-0, winning 2-0, and that gave him the belief for the players and the understand, because he'd been to the Champions League the year before. And then he started fine-tuning it with Havertz and starting to take a little bit of a gamble here and there with different players in different positions. And before you know it, they've won the Champions League. And it can be as simple as that, Kev, can't it? It can be a new voice, bit of direction, some of the older players brought in, and before you know it, you're back firing. And a little bit with Rob Lee. Rob Lee come back into the team. Stuart Pearce was back in the team. Nico Stabizos was back in the team, and Alan Shearer was playing facing the goal. And we end up, as I said, getting in the Champions League that season. Yeah.
Warren as well. Rudiger and those guys were kind of phased out by Lampard. Rudiger wasn't even playing.
Jorginho as well.
He wasn't even changing.
Yeah.
But what does Tuchel do? He comes in and he brings the dressing room all together, starts working with the experienced players. I need the experienced players on board. You guys are internationals. You've seen it, done it. Next minute, that squad's come back together. And look at them. They've listen, fair play to them. Qualified for the Champions League in the league. Got beat by a cracker in the FA Cup, which can happen. And then they'll go on and win the Champions League. Now it's a really good season. It's a great season for them.
Yeah, it's amazing. Okay, so let's go back because I want to get deeper inside the dressing room. So you guys both grew up in London, and Warren, I want to start with you here. Obviously, when did you realize, before this even happened, by the way, I'm just finding the greatest pictures of your hair because I've got some of Kev as well. I mean, look at these two here. I mean, it doesn't, that's not the hair one, but they're joined at the hip, these two. Hilarious stuff.
Kev, did you never have like a wet look or anything? You don't have any like the wet?
I did. Yeah, a big afro. Yeah. Big afro one.
You must have had the wet look in
it. Do you remember the Metropolitan Police 5 sides?
Yeah.
Oh, I used to love watching those. Oh my God.
Massive.
They used to do those at Wembley Arena back in the day, Kev.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
I think me and Kev played against each other at South East Counties. I was at Leighton Orient and he would have been at Arsenal. And remember South East Counties? Remember like the youth teams games?
Yeah.
I used to play against Spurs, Arsenal. How old are you? 51, didn't you? Or 50? How old are you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're that same
I
sort of
definitely
age.
played
Leighton
against
Orient, yeah. Yeah, I know we would have played against each other. Yeah.
You was at Orient, weren't you?
Yeah. You used to stick a big ass into it.
Could you remember you beat us 6-2? Do you remember you beat us 6-2?
I do remember that. Yeah.
Listen, let me tell you.
Kev, you was in
You
here.
battered us 6-2 that day, right? And Pat Rice went absolutely ballistic, mate. He said, "You are all in tomorrow." He said, "Get a good sleep because you're going to need it." We covered every part of our Ivory, mate. We ran up every step. We ran the track. We ran up the North Bank. We ran up the Gulf Bank. We're carrying people up our back, up the East Stand, West Stand, you name it.
You deserved it. You deserved it, didn't you, Kev?
Listen,
On 20,
it was just one of them days.
£27.50
$27.50 a week, yeah.
a week. That was
Oh
it.
my God.
Unacceptable for Arsenal, we said. So I'm going to show you what it's like when you lose for Arsenal.
See, Kev, maybe Rebecca Lowe was right. Maybe you did play Paul Buckle back in the day there, because I don't know. Maybe she was. We'll see.
No.
Okay. All right. We'll get Paul on the show.
Can I just say, Paul was never a player. Paul talks a good game. He was never a player.
I'm going to have to clip this for Rebecca.
Just tell Rebecca and Paul, I've got his number. He was never a player.
I love it. So
but he played for Brentford, didn't he?
Yes.
He played for Brentford, I think. They weren't in our division. And he reckons, Warren, 87 FA Youth Cup, he played against Arsenal. But my year in the FA Youth Cup was 88.
Yeah, he's bullshitting. No way.
Do you know what I mean?
He never played.
So,
He played against the football in the community. He never played against Arsenal's academy.
Oh my God, I love it. I love it. I'm going to have to clip this for Bex. She'll love it. And when you were talking about like hair and stuff, is this what you meant, Warren? Like, was this the hairstyle you were actually referring to? Because he'd done it quite a few times. Look, he's roped heels into it here. He's got righty into it here. It's hilarious. Oh dear. Anyway, we move on. So let's go back. You're growing up. You're in London. You want to be a footballer. Your parents supportive of that? And when do you get like your first when did your parents actually realize, you know what, Warren could actually do this?
I had an older brother, and we lived over in East London. So we used to go over, like most people, and when I lived in Stonington near Islington, go over Clissold Park, and we'd go over there, I don't know, 12 o'clock in the daytime, and like everybody else come back about 10 o'clock at night, just playing football all the time with my older brother. And my mum, unfortunately, mum and dad was divorced, so my mum was doing about 3 jobs at the time. So we was out, playing football, and that's all I wanted to do. We used to go to school. Me and my wife laugh about it. We went to the same high school together, junior school. She used to have a lot of folders and books like that. I used to have a big sports bag with a football in it. That was it. And she would go off to her classes, and I'd be in the playground just kicking the ball. And I think like millions and millions of kids at that age and at that time just wanted to be playing football. And so my mum was obviously supportive and was whatever you want to do. My older brother was my older brother, and he used to kick the crap out of me if I went past him and tackle me like he would do as if it was an FA Cup final, and that made me run a little bit quicker. But also in my career, I've been told twice I was too small, wasn't going to make it, and had my family around me to try and. But it's pretty much like Kev, really. I didn't know anything else. I didn't want to do anything else. I tried working in a business centre when I played non-league football, Arthur Anderson's, a chartered accountants builder in London.
Wow, yeah.
And I was just looking out the window thinking I wanted to play. But I was there with my friend. We worked for about 6-7 months. We had a great time. But all I ever wanted to do was play football. So I used to get my Honda 50cc, go over Hackney Marshes.
Nice.
Freezing cold, just with my suit on where I just come from work, and go and play non-league football for Dagenham and Redbridge, and got my chance and just kept going. So yeah, Mum supported of me. understood what it took at Leighton Orient, let me go after we beat Arsenal 6-2. He said I was too small. Frank Clark never going to make it. Like Chicky Sol afterwards, when I played for England, Kev, he asked me, "Can I have your shirt?" I was like, "You take a piss." So, so it was, it was having that.
Wait, Frank Clark, the manager, Warren Frank Clark.
Frank Clark,
Really?
the Newcastle legend.
Wow.
Yeah, he was at Leighton
He
Orient
managed me. He managed me when I went on loan there. Orient. He was
Orient,
the manager.
okay.
I went there on loan. Yeah.
Oh wow.
But yeah, just like millions and millions of other, I tell my kids now, you've got to keep working at it. You've got to keep playing. I was, that's all I wanted to do. And at 16 years of age, walking into a changing room at Dagenham and Redbridge, where you've got a builder, electrician, plumber, and if you lose the game for £5, they're going to let you know about it. So you grew up pretty quickly. And it was probably one of the best things I did, to play lower league football. And, within 18 months, I actually played against the Arsenal at Wimbledon when I got signed. So my second game at home, first one was against Liverpool, the great Liverpool late 80s team, and then played against the Arsenal the following week. So that's how things can change. All I ever wanted to do as a kid was go over Clissold Park and go over Hackney Marshes and go and play football. A little story, my first time of being signed, Kev, I don't remember these Sunday football teams in the local areas, whether it's in Essex or whether it's East London, South London. There was always one team that had a guy who worked down the market, like whether it was Roman Road or Hackney, these markets. Yeah. So this guy had a fruit and veg stall, and I was playing for one of these teams called Redbridge, and he had the bigger team called Tigers. Yeah. So he brought me over. We never had fresh fruit before, like a big pineapple, grapefruits, watermelons. He bought me. He said, "Look, if you come and play for me every Sunday, I'll give you this to give to your mum," and things like that. So I got the transfer. I got headhunted for a box of fruit, fucking pineapple, and a grapefruit. I went over to Tigers. And
I love it. Love it.
That's so epic.
So that was I can be bought cheaply. Don't worry about that.
You can be bought cheaply. I love that. I love that.
I can jump ship for a pineapple and a grapefruit.
Oh, so good. Warren, was Maidstone your big break then? Going to Maidstone, was that the big break? And obviously that led to your Uber mega break. But was that where it really started?
In the non-league, I'd done reasonably well. I'd done well. And it comes to a crossroads. And Kev will tell you this. I could have gone to Barnet with Barry Fry and Stan Flashman, and I could have had 2 VIP tickets for every concert, every tennis, every football game with Stan Flashman and Barry Fry. Yeah. Or I could go to Maidstone and get £250 a week. I was going to get 500 at Barnet and 10,000 sign-on fee and a car. Or I can go to Maidstone, who's in the Football League, for £250 a week and take the chance and see what happens. Wow. Playing the Football League. So I took that. All I ever wanted to be was a professional footballer. I took the chance. 10 months later, we made the playoffs against Dion Dublin's team, Cambridge United, with John Beck.
Good side.
Get it forward. We lost in the semi-finals in the playoffs against them. But being in that area, there was a lot of scouts that was coming at Dartford, just off the M25, because Maidstone wasn't playing in Maidstone at the time. It was at Dartford, so it's right off the M25. And there was a lot of scouts coming over. And one of them scouts was Bobby Gould and the great Don Howe. And they come down and see us playing a game. And they paid at that time a record fee for a player for Wimbledon, 300,000.
300 grand, yeah.
300 grand. So taking that chance for £250 a week has led on to where I'm at before. So again, we've said it before when we've done this. It was never about the money at the beginning. It was just getting a chance. Like Kev going to Leighton Orient wasn't to go and maybe move and go somewhere. It was to get games, get experience, and get opportunity, and then come back to where you want to go to. And we've both been lucky enough to do that. And it takes a lot of hard work. Takes a lot of belief, because you know what it's like, Kev. Every day someone's chipping away at you, someone having a go at you. They want your spot, but you just got to keep your head going and keep going through it and keep smiling.
Warren, how did you find the difference in dressing rooms? Because you went from Maidstone. So when you first got into the Maidstone, obviously you've got it all to prove, haven't you? and then obviously you do really well there. So I'd like to know about the dressing room at Maidstone. And then obviously you moved from there and you went to Wimbledon, which is a totally different dressing room altogether, isn't it?
And also, by the way, when he moved, Kev, that was the most expensive. There's 2 landmarks for Warren. 300 grand was the most expensive signing of any fourth division player in the history of football at that time. And then obviously when he went to Wimbledon, that was another record breaker. But go on, yeah, because the dressing room scenarios. The Wimbledon is the one we got to get into right
the Maidstone, I want to find.
Yeah,
because,
okay, let's go there
remember, Warren's coming from he's not playing first team football.
Right.
So going to Maidstone to play first team football. He's turned down a skip load of money at Barnet to go and play first team football. So I want to know, because it's a difficult transition from being a youngster and then starting, isn't it?
And 2 tickets at courtside for Wimbledon, guaranteed.
Sorry, two tickets. Every season,
And the floor back from Big Star. What it was, Kev, so as well, is that you come from a non-league changing room, as I said, Dagenham and Redbridge or Leytonstone Ilford, it was at the time. Then I went to Maidstone, who just got promoted, and 3 of the players had jobs. They didn't want to go and play in the Football League, so they went to where I was, Dagenham and Redbridge. Right. So there were still non-league players in that changing room. Tony Pamphlet was one. He was a policeman, retired for the time, and he still wanted to play Football League. So going into the Maidstone's changing room, being that player, is that there were still a lot of non-league players in that changing room, and they'd seen me play. So the expectations was there. But I'd had that grounding. As I said, when I walked into Dagenham and Redbridge, you had a plumber, electrician, as I said, a painter, decorator. And if you lost for £5, they'd beat the crap out of you. Don't worry about that. There was no hairs or graces. So
it was serious, wasn't it? Serious,
because it was their livelihood. So it was their extra, their beer money, living, whatever it was, it was going to be their money. So going into Maidstone, we had Kevin Peacock, who was Alan Coxey's right-hand man, Keith Peacock, and the great Tommy Taylor, a fullback as well. He might have been at Leyton Orient with you, Kev, as well, Tommy. Tommy Taylor. So going into that changing room was quite exciting because it was the first time in the Football League. There's non-league players. So that was exciting. Then to go into Wimbledon, who had come through the lower leagues all the way with Bassett, all the way through, they still had a non-league mentality of sticking together, being a team, fighting for each other. We weren't the most gifted players in the world. We didn't have a talented player that could open the door. We all worked our socks. So in that philosophy was always the same of working hard, sticking together, characters, So it wasn't for me too much of a transition, because if I'd gone into a changing room that was like all established players, all big time, it would have been a challenge. But they all had that non-league mentality. There was other players that had played at a high level, but they come down. I tell you what Maidstone was like, Kev. It was still, although he was in the Football League, led a guy who played for Gillingham called Les Beasley. He used to go in the toilet at half time and still have a cigarette. That's
brilliant.
So from going to non-league to that,
so epic.
He was so nervous. He used to have a cigarette, blow it out the window, but every
time
you could smell Les over
smell
the bag.
You could smell it. Oh, jeez.
Can I just say though as well, when I shared a room with David Ginola, he used to have a cigarette. So
he used to have the French were like that. No, the French were like that. Yeah.
It was a little bit different. David Ginola and a pair of Y-Fans and Les smoking out.
So epic.
I wish I had a picture of David and his Y-Fans having a cigarette.
Oh,
so that would have been. But to answer your question, Kev, they still had that mentality. They still tested you. They still tried to see how you was like a character. But we always had that mentality of working hard, sticking together. So it was an easier transition for me because they just been promoted into the Football League.
Right.
Cool. Amazing. So from Maidstone, I mean, Wimbledon was, so you arrived at Wimbledon after the FA Cup, David versus Goliath, Liverpool, right? Warren, when you arrived at Wimbledon, you were also, one of many players that came into this crazy gang. I mean, what I can't even describe it. Can you just describe it?
It was a
because we have a lot of young, Kev. We have a lot of young fans that may or may not know of it, but they know the myth of it. They think it's an urban legend, but it's true. And Kev said that one of his worst dressing rooms going away. I mean, you guys had major shithousery left, right, and centre. Let's jump into the Wimbledon kind of environment and what that felt like when
So can I just ask, did you play at Colbow Lane, Warren, anytime?
Plough Lane. No, I played at Plough Lane. Plough Lane.
You're right, you played at Plough Lane, sorry.
Yeah,
playing at Plough Lane.
Can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a quick question? You didn't drink the tea or sugar there, did you?
None of it. Didn't touch none of it.
Good
listen,
man.
the eggy balls, that you gave us to warm up with the wet floors, deliberately wet. Deliberately wet.
And that wasn't water either. That wasn't
I bet it bloody wet. It stunk as well.
Oh, dear God. So it's all true, Warren. You guys were just devils in disguise, weren't you, hey?
Tried to make it as uncomfortable and as unpleasant as possible because, you know, Arsenal, the Royalty Arsenal would come down, Liverpool, Man United. I mean, you know, they would try and get in the bath, and the bath had ice in it, and the sugar wasn't sugar, it was salt. The milk definitely weren't milk, Kev, so don't even go with the milk.
I didn't touch, listen, I touched nothing in there.
I hope right. I really hope he had some, by the way. He deserved it. But, you know, it was just the philosophy. You know, Dennis Wise had just left. He'd gone to Chelsea for a record, I think it was 1.7 or 1.6 million after the FA Cup. I'd come in to sort of take his place, to try and play. And the philosophy they had, we finished 6th or 7th that season as well, and lucky enough to get called up into Graham Taylor in his setup as well. So it was a real whirlwind season. You know, 10 months ago I was playing against Cambridge in the playoff, and the next time you're playing at Old Trafford, marking Lee Sharp for the first 45 minutes, and then, you know, Ryan Giggs for the next 45 minutes. So that was all part and parcel of it, and, you know, we just had a great time. And Player Lane was very unusual. You know, you had Highbury that had the marble floor, heated seats, heated flooring. It was beautiful. You know, it was like a piece of art. And then you had Player Lane that was welcome to the real world. And you ain't going to enjoy this next 90 minutes. We're going to do whatever we can.
Oh, jeez.
And we made it what it was, a fortune. We made it difficult. And if people didn't, I remember one game against Everton, and they had people like Evan Ratcliffe, who was proper men. You know, they could play. And lo and behold, there was a little scuffle that broke out at in the halfway line. So I've gone over to try and pacify it and set it apart. You know, just keep so no one gets a red card. Well, big John Fashion News come over. He's nearly broke my arm, pushed me out the way. I've gone flying on the floor. I've gone after whoever it was in midfield, having a go. I think it was Barry Hall or someone having a go at him, going to knock him out. And then the referees broke it up. So I go walking in at half time. It was just before half time. Fascists come in. He's pushed me. I mean, the changing rooms are tiny, Kev, aren't they?
Yeah, tiny.
He pushed me. And I flew across the floor, smacked my head on the door, and he went, "Don't ever effing do that again." So I'm like, what big man? I'm thinking he's going to kill me here, Kev. I think, oh my God, I got no chance. So he went, "Don't ever do that again." He said, "Always us against them."
Yeah.
No matter who it is or
100%,
why you're trying to break out.
100%.
And that's how we would do it. And we'd go, when we went to Selhurst Park, the changing rooms were still one next to the other, and you'd walk out, and the away team had to walk past our changing room. So we had the music blaring. We had all the people screaming and shouting before we went out.
The doors were
John
open.
would come out with it. Oh, yeah. See what
the
you
doors
like.
were open, wide open.
There was always someone from Southampton or Coventry or Norwich would come out. Oh, this is not the crazy game. This is not them. So Fash would come out with his top off, all odd. I mean, muscle on muscle. He was like,
just in his
he was like built like a Greek god. That one, wasn't
honestly,
he?
He
scared
the crap out of me. So he'd come out there and went. He'd go to us, which one was it? Go, oh, it was this big centre. He was always like a Norwegian centre half. A silly Scandinavian would say Wimbledon, they're not the crazy game. We'd all go, me, Robbie Earl, and the boys and Scouts would go, oh, it's in Fash. And you could see this fella, the blood ran out of his body. Fash would go, me and you today, big man, me and you today. And literally 4 or 5 minutes into the game.
Sharpen the elbow. Sharpen the elbows.
You see the fella was looking, thinking, I never said that. Yeah, it was in Fash. You know, it was like I was having a big brother with it. Go on, give him some Fash. So the first 5-10 minutes into the game, ball goes out, slap. The Norwegian's on the floor, his eyes split open, he gets dragged off, we win the game. We knew we would win 5 or 6 games just by in the tunnel.
Intimidation.
Intelligence. They just didn't want to be there, didn't want to play, didn't want to be in front of the fans. So we knew that would be our benchmark. Now, if we can go and beat an Arsenal maybe at home, or beat a Man United that we did, or beat Newcastle that if they'd come down on a long journey, we'd beat them. That's how we knew we'd survive and stand for a league. And, you know, there was always someone that would open their stupid mouth and say, this is not the Wimbledon. And it's you'd hear slap. And that was it.
Stick it in the mixer was the shout, wasn't it? Stick it in the mixer.
Put it in the mixer, bubble up.
You mean like this? like that, right?
Oh, God.
That's called ball control. That was
ball control. You can't play with them, son.
Yeah. Yeah,
You
that's what
can't
we used
play
to say.
without them. Oh,
Get nice.
I mean-
I got a quick story. Okay, I don't think you was there. You probably gone to Everton at the time, but Righty, I love him, and we all do.
Yeah.
He used to hate playing against us because of the Crystal Palace Newcastle
Yeah.
thing. So we had two players, Brian McAllister and Scott Fitzgerald, who was young lads
At the
come
back.
through the academy.
Yeah.
At the back, two centre halves.
Yeah,
Good
know
players,
them,
not
yeah.
great players, just good, great lads as well. So we have a little scuffle breaks out on the right hand side. I think it's actually me, and it might have been like Anders Limpard or something. We're having a little scuffle. So Righty's hit Scott Fitzgerald on the chin as he's run past, and it's on the camera at Selhurst Park. But what Righty didn't know, Brian McAllister's seen him, and Brian McAllister's left-handed, so he's hit Scott on the right centre half here, but Righty's running away from it. Brian's gone bang, hit
Give him a dig.
him right in the chin. He's gone down. There's a scuffle here in the middle with Ian and the two centre, and there's another one going over.
Kicking off everywhere.
Yeah,
Jesus.
it was, but it was funny because he thought it was instinct. Give someone one.
I got away with it. I got away with it.
Right.
Righty
him off his feet like that, and they all piled on top of him.
he had shithousery. Dennis and
Big
Righty,
time.
they had big time shithousery. Because I don't want to get to this yet, but this just explains it. Because I'm like, what's going on here between Righty and Warren at Newcastle? But we'll get back to that when we move the story along a little bit. So Warren, you had a great time at Wimbledon. You were sensational in your first season, especially. You were part of the team that, like you said, their highest finish ever in the league, which was incredible. And the myth, the legend of Wimbledon continued. But then came the time for you to break more records, and then you found yourself playing for the Toon Army, signed by this legend, Kevin Keegan, 4 million at the time, which, by the way, kids, in 95, Warren? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
No, it was 95.
Yeah.
4 million was a lot of dough in
That was
95.
That was big bread, man. Big bread.
Talk us through that a little bit.
As I said, we'd had successful time, and Terry Phelan had gone a couple of years before to Man City. Keith Curl was the next one. He'd gone off to Man City. John Scales had just gone to Liverpool for 3.5 million. So there was a conveyor belt of players that each year they was looking to sell. And then obviously it just become my time. And there's been a lot of speculation. I've been around with Terry Venables in the England squad, getting ready for Euro 96 and playing some of the games and being around them, which is the first time a player from Wimbledon been picked for England since Big John Fashanu. So it was quite a big deal. Got a bit of interest as well. Celtic had come down; they was very interested. The likes of Man City with Peter Reid, Everton, and Arsenal. Actually, David Dean. I spoke to Arsenal because Wimbledon played Arsenal in a semi-final of the Youth Cup, and I was at Highbury, and David was there, and we went into the director's room and. At that time, he still wasn't sure about who was coming because he wanted myself and Les Ferdinand to come to Arsenal. And I spoke to David, who's arguably one of the greatest, CEOs or whatever you want to call it, ever in the game or in business. He was a wonderful, wonderful man. And me and Les was always linked with the same clubs, and Arsenal being one of it. And then it was a bank holiday Monday. And Kev, I don't know whether you remember, but it's when Blackburn won the league. Alan Shearer scored at the far post against Newcastle. It was a bank holiday Monday, April time, and Alan had scored against Newcastle to put them on top of the league. And Blackburn went on to go and win the league as well. But Kevin had come all the way down from Manchester to meet me in a hotel in Knightsbridge in Kensington. In Kensington. And, I'd spoken to David Dean. Celtic had been in there. But Kevin just come up to me and said, join a big club. I'd spoken to Barry Venison and Peter Beardsley with England and Venice was great. Barry Venison, because I was sort of taking his position with England. He said, look, you've got to go up there. I mean, the fans is crazy. Kevin's trying to build something special up there. You're going to love your football. You're going to love the way they play. I know you're an Arsenal boy, a London boy, Arsenal boy, but just believe me, he's going to do something special. So obviously that was in the back of my mind. And Kev, anytime you played at St James's Park, doing a cool
incredible.
Down, the atmosphere is so special, so unique than anybody else around. And I mean it with all due respect because they are fanatical. Arsenal have had great fans and Old Trafford is great, but there's something special about the fans in the Northeast and the way they are with their team. And for Kevin then to say come and join a big club, it was easy. It was an easy thing. It took about 20 minutes to work everything out. And then going back from being a kid that had been told twice you're too small, then to be a record for a defender in the Premier League, and then playing for England was quite surreal. That year and that time was a real special time, and I owe a lot to Wimbledon. I gave it a lot as well at Wimbledon. I gave everything I did at Wimbledon, and I was ready to go. I used to go and see Joe Kinnear. Anyone that's ever been around Joe Kinnear, you go into his office at the training ground. And we know Joe, you know managers' towels, you know their signs, Kev, whoever it was.
Yeah.
So anytime Joe Kinnear would do that, scratch his head, you knew he was fucking lying. You knew he was fucking lying because you've seen him do it. It was his turn.
Yeah.
He could never play poker. So he'd go like that. So I'd go, Gaffer, I'd go walking. And I've just spoken to David Dean on the Tuesday night. I said, Gaffer, if there is a chance, I know, I've been at the club and I think I only had a year to go. I said, look, I'd love to. He went, nah, son, we've had no one come in for you. I went, well, I know you're fucking lying. He went, no, son, I'm telling you the truth. I said, I just spoke to the owner, the other day. So he went,
so good.
No, we've had no offers. No one's come in and started. I went, okay, Joe, no problem. And lo and behold, it was done in the April, and then I signed in the June, and just a special time. But I like most things, it was ready to go. I'd give everything to Wimbledon. I wanted to go to a club to try and win things. I wanted to try and challenge. I wanted to try and play in the Champions League. Everything that every kid's ambition is to try and win something. Play. When I remember the FA Cup, is Alan Sunderland scoring against Man United and running the length of the field, screaming and shouting. So that's them memories in my mind was to try and win something, and to be captain of that club, and to be involved with the great players. As I said, Alan Shearer, the likes of Ginola, Aspria, Philippe Albert, just wonderful one. Gary Speed, Rob. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And proper people as well. Not only good players, but good people as well.
Warren, the important thing for me is, when you've come through the difficult times, and now you've come as a big money signing, and the recruitment drive is still happening. You're seeing the quality players come into the football club. Explain that in the dressing room, because the dynamic just starts to pick up momentum, doesn't it? Like-minded players together.
Yeah, it was, beforehand, they obviously signed Ron Lee, John Beresford, Pete Beardsley had come back. They just sold Andy Cole that had just left.
Yes.
So they had these players that were coming. Steve Howey was just breaking into the England setup. Philip Albert was there, Pavel Cernicek. But just going back to that picture that you showed, within a week, they signed me. 2 days later was Les Ferdinand. And then the following week was David Ginola, and then Xhaka come. And then, so them 4 players. But what was really, for me, was encouraging. I knew some of the boys being around England. It was the boys that was already there. That picture there, within, a week, they signed all 3 of us, which
brilliant.
Actually, that month was 12.5 million. They're 3. Imagine what they'd be worth now. So,
jeez.
So,
wow.
And I don't know about you, Kev, but I'd never seen things like David Ginola did. Pick the ball out of the air, left foot, right foot. He was sensational.
Incredible.
Les was a top class player. He was a player, so you knew Les, and for me, 100% what I was going to get. So he come in, and just a joy to be around. And then they top up when things like every big club, and we spoke about it with Chelsea. They go and get Tino Aspria. He comes along. And then obviously David Batty, another one that comes along. Gary Speed coming. So that each time there was quality players coming in. But that time in the 95 with that grandad collar, the Newcastle brown out, the city of Newcastle, it was such a vibrant time. The Premier League was then bursting at seams, where now it was really hitting the ground running, and everything was about the Premier League. And what we did in the 90s and early 2000s is really what it is now. The success you had of the Invincibles, the treble winning team, the entertainers, whatever it was, has made the Premier League what it is now, because that's where the foundation comes of Bergkamp, Henry's, Shearer's, Ginolas. These type of players don't come around too often. And in that era, Kev, every time we was playing, it'd be a tough game, it'd be a good game, and you're playing against quality players all the time. So from that point of view, it was just, I count myself lucky to play in that era, because yes, you could say now the money and everything else, but we had a lot of fun, and we had some good games at that time, and everything else was special. The fans was electric. It was great. As I said, a wonderful time.
Kev, probably one of the most fun teams to watch in the Premier League era, no doubt. The entertainers, weren't they, Kev? And we didn't like playing against them. They were just so tricky, and they didn't care. They had this, and we'll get into the dressing room because I want to know what Kevin Keegan's dressing room was like. But Kev, they were just a special team that, should have won the league.
The thing about that Newcastle side, which I always admired, was they had anybody they bought actually enhanced the team. Everybody they bought, the recruitment was incredible. And they were swashbuckling. They could defend. But, when they broke on you, you were in trouble because they broke with numbers. And Kevin Keegan seemed to like that type of style, didn't he? He'd rather win 5-4 than win 1-0. And maybe that was his downfall because in the end, if you'd have won a few games 1-0 or even that Man United game where, you lost 1-0, if you'd have been 0-0, you would have probably won the league. But swashbuckling nature, the mentality of the boys, and that's why I always say, and sometimes, people don't like me keep saying it, when the boys crossed the white line, because you had some good youngsters, Steve Watson, Nash, and all them boys were coming through. They were all in and around it. Anybody who play their heart out for the football club. There was never any, Newcastle never turned up today. No, that was never the case. Newcastle always gave someone a game. You didn't always win, but you always gave somebody a game. And that's what our Arsenal's problem has been. They don't give everyone a game. But Newcastle always gave someone a game.
Not this Arsenal team, Kev. Not at all.
And Sophie,
yes.
They were a lot of people's second favourite club.
They were. You know what I was about to say? You know how in America, the so-called America's team is the Dallas Cowboys, which, by the way, no one believes that. That was in the 90s. But it might be the Packers.
That's a lie. It's a lie.
Right, it's a lie. It may be the Packers now, but there was no fan that was neutral, that wasn't rooting for Newcastle to win the Premier League in the season where they went 10 points clear. And I don't want to fast forward too far to that, Warren, but it did happen pretty quickly. And I know you weren't involved in that game. You're still pissed off about that, right? Were you injured and on the bench, or
I got injured on the Thursday, and then he was going to play us, and then he said, "No, I'm not going to go with you this time." So yeah, it was one of them.
Yeah,
I was going to play you, not going to play you, but the injury sorted him out a little bit. So, yeah, anyway,
how did he handle things like that real well? Like, was he in the dressing room? Like, what was he like, Kevin Keegan? Did he just leave you guys? Because he didn't really say, he didn't have the chalkboard, did he? He wasn't like Mr. Dots and X's and O's. He was go out and express yourself.
Kevin was, when things was going well, Kevin was great. When we was winning, when we was going forward, he was great. He didn't like controversy. He didn't like dropping people, leaving people out. And like Kev said, when he bought a player, it was to enhance it. So the other players knew you was a better player, so they was coming in. When he started losing games, then he started second guessing himself. Like when we had Peter and Les playing up front, Kevin can relate to this. When you have chemistry with your partner, you don't need to disrupt that. So, but Kevin thought, well, I booked Tino Asprilla for 7.5 minutes. I've got to play him. Yeah. So Peter, you go and play. Rob Lee, you go and slide on the right hand side. Peter can play in the middle with that, and that just threw the momentum and threw everything off. He left me out for one game. He said he wanted to. You was injured, so I'm going to play Watto, and obviously we conceded 4 goals. So it was one of them games. But that Kevin was great when it was going well. When it didn't, then he started getting anxious. I mean, some of his team talks, the one against Wimbledon when Vinnie Jones went in goal and we won 6-1. His team talk beforehand, he got the team sheet, as you normally do. He looked at it, screwed it up, threw it on the floor. He said, "I've got the one I want, just go and beat him." So there was no philosophy of
psychological. That's huge. Yeah. Oops, has he bounced out?
Oh, I think we lost him for a quick minute. But Kev, they had 2 games against Liverpool. Do you remember?
Yeah, 2 4-3s. 2 4-3 games. 2
4-3s in back-to-back seasons, which was incredible. Let me just get Warren back in here. Just ducked out. Hey, Warren, we got you back.
Sorry about that.
No,
so when it was going well, it was great. And I remember the time we got beat at Arsenal 2-1, and Kevin come out in the media and said Les was crap, I was crap, Ginola was crap, and just publicly said we was all crap, and rightly so. But that's how Kevin was, and the outburst that we had at Leeds, at Ellen Road, Kev, you'll remember that. To Sir Alex Ferguson, I'd love it if we beat him. That was Kevin. And that's how he was. And you know, the picture after Stan had scored this goal of Kevin slouched over there,
Slouched down,
the ball. He wore his heart on his sleeve. But that's how the city was. That's how the fans wanted us to win it. Relating to what the fans and the team was, is that they worked hard Monday to Friday for us to entertain them at a weekend. And because, like Kevin said, we was box office. We was always on a Sunday or a Monday night football. So Man United would go and beat Southampton 2-0 at the Dell. No one, you know, just Man United fans there, not live on TV. They'd go and win it. Everyone was waiting to see Newcastle play against Sheffield Wednesday or against Everton or wherever it was on a Monday night football. But, you know, Kev touched on it, and that's where, you know, people understand the game. The Man United game where we got beat by Cantona 1-0 turned everything around. And that's when we lost it then, because first 45 minutes, we was phenomenal. You know, Schmeichel was making save, Les was hitting the post, crossbar. Instead of at half time, turning around and saying, right, we ain't losing this game. Whatever happens, they ain't beating us.
Yeah.
Kevin's first words were, go and show them how good we are again. So we've gone out again to do exactly the same thing, got caught on the sucker punch, counter-attack, Cantona bounces it in the goal. They then cut the deficit to 7 points. They got a game in hand, it's 4 points. It's game on. And then we lost momentum. We got beat at Forest with Ian Woe. And the rest is history. We just lost momentum. But Kevin as a coach was brilliant. And like I said, when he signed me, Alan Shearer tells a great story as well, because Alan was going to go to Man United and win every trophy there was. But Kevin was able to convince him wearing the number 9 for Newcastle was going to be his biggest honour. And Alan doesn't regret it, you know, but he could have had a lot more trophies than he has. But Kevin was a special manager for a club at that time. They went hand in hand, and that's why he's a legend there. That's why they love him, because he gave them hope, he gave them passion, he gave them belief, and he gave them pride. We used to go to Highbury, and there'd be like 4,000 or 5,000 Geordies there. You go play, you know, they'd always sell out. It's a great atmosphere, and you know, as I said, a great bunch of fellas as well, like Watto, Lee Clark, Robbie Elliott, Steve Howard, all the local boys as well, made you feel welcome.
Cool.
Who was the captain of that team at the time, Warren? I know you captained the team at times. Shearer obviously became the captain. When you first went there, who was the captain?
Peter Beardsley.
Peter Beardsley, right.
Yeah, he's the only one that had won something. And Kev will tell you as well, Peter's not a vocal. He's not a Tony Adams. He's not a Stuart Pearce. He captains by example on the training field. And so when we was having that time, we didn't really have that leader who got us all together. I mean, Tony's the best captain I've ever had, and that was with England. I mean, you'd run for a brick wall for Kev, because for Tony, because that's the type of captain he was. So, you know, Peter was like that. Then obviously Rob Lee, and then it went to Alan. And then if Alan was obviously out of the game, it'd be myself or Speedo or someone like that. But wow, them shorts are high, aren't they?
You got hot pants on right here.
Eltel's looking well, isn't he?
Was Brian Robson a player or part of the coaching
staff? He was part of the staff. And he was
part
my
of
hero.
the staff.
He was my hero as well. When I grew up, Brian was my hero. So to have him around was great. He's one of the best coaches I've ever worked with, Terry Venables, in the sense of tactics, man management. He was phenomenal on the field, you know, and the way he was with coaches and players. You know, what he did in Euro 96 against Holland and Spain, and playing the wing backs, you know, McManaman. He was way ahead of his time, Terry. He was brilliant. The other side with Terry was what maybe let him down. He always wanted to be everybody's friend and socialise with people, but as a coach, if you ever had the chance to be,
he was excellent.
Yeah,
he was excellent. Yeah,
phenomenal.
He was excellent.
And he had Don with him as well. Don Howe as well. Was with him.
When you see, I mean, look, Righty, Sol, Incy, you, and then here, obviously, there's Redknapp, Robbo.
Some legends in that one. Look at that.
Totally. What was the England dressing?
Wow.
Yeah. What was what was this England dressing room like, Warren?
Well, if you can imagine having Ian Wright, Paul Gascoigne, Robbie Fowler and Steve McManaman all in the same group, and then you throw Stuart Pearce, Tony Adams, Merce was in that lot as well. So, it wasn't a dull moment, put it that way. You know, you had to lock your door beforehand. But no, they was, I mean, and I tell you, just a quick story as well. I got selected to, and it's funny how Wimbledon has got such a enigma about it. Like, I come into the first time at with England, sit down on the table, and Points. I love Points to death. He's always been brilliant with me. You know, I don't know how well you know Incy.
Yeah, no, Incy.
Kev.
Yeah,
but
well,
he's such a, and he was in Italy at the time in Inter, and just a top class fella. I knew he was from London as well, same part of the area. So he come over. So I'm at the table first, just got in with England. Incy walks in, he sits with me, then David Platt, then Wrighty come over, and we have a conversation for 45 minutes about the crazy game, what are they like, and this and that. And I want to ask them what.
What's it like?
What's it like at Italy and now, things like that. But they was intrigued by how it was, and it sort of really broke the ice. It wasn't if it was like another young player like Jamie or Darren Anderton sitting with me and we're just having a cup of tea.
Experience, boys.
Then they come and sit down next to me, and Incy's going about, well, you must have done this. And you heard the story when we locked Andy Clark in the boot of a car.
I know, Clarky, no. Was it an initiation? Because I was going to get onto the initiations at the end to see the initiations.
He didn't pay his council tax, his poll tax. So they kept coming down to try and find him. So every time they come down, we used to have to throw him in someone's boot. So we did it twice with him, Kev. The third time, you know what happened the third time? We left him in there for about 5 hours. We went home.
Boys.
So Clarky's jumped through the window. He hadn't paid his tax. So we popped the boot open. He's jumping there. The kit man would go and shut it. Once the people are gone, we'd let him out. Twice. Third time. We ain't letting him out this time.
Leave him.
Leave him in there. So put him in there. We didn't realise as well, the other thing, he's claustrophobic. So he was in there. We trained. He was like smashing the thing in there. Smashing the car up. And we come back from training. We went and had some food across the road. Come back, popped over. He was like a crazy. We popped it. And then we run, and Clarky could run. Andy Clark could run. He was one thing. He didn't
he could shift. He
didn't have a brain, but he could run. He could run. So I keep chasing everyone, going to kill us. But yeah, that was another initiation test. That was test. That was trying to help him out.
You guys, these initiations, Kev. I know you want to. I want to know best speech, worst. I mean, I want a few, but. Go ahead, Kev, because I know, come on.
Well, because there was I know there was some infamous initiations at Wimbledon, and people being stitched up big time, Warren, I believe. So tell me one corker at Wimbledon of initiation, new player or young player joining the first team.
Obviously, any of the young players, which I don't know how we got away with it, they used to stand in a bucket of ice, nothing on at Christmas, and they would sing a Christmas carol.
So
that was like the normal thing that we do. But Big John Hart's had signed for Wimbledon, and the record signing come from West End. Nice suit. Well, it was John Hartson, so it wasn't a nice suit.
It was a suit.
It was a suit. You know what he's like. The Welshmen are not the best dressers. No, not the best dressers. Only Speedo. So he'd come and had his suit. He'd done the press day. That's it. So he hung his suit out, gone out for training. So the next, he's come back in. They've set that on fire straight away. I'd got selected for England as well, and how things changed, Kev. I've got into England, so I went and bought myself a new Saab. Car.
Nice.
So that come in, so I'd park that in the driveway. Come back in from the training ground.
Oh no!
All my tyres have been slashed. So I said to I'm thinking it's Vinny. I think it's got to be Vinny and Mick Hartford and Gary Blissett. So I said, fellas, how can I pay for that? I got no money to pay the tyres. I paid for the car. I got no money.
I paid him for the car.
And they all went, wasn't us. I said, don't tell me that. They went, I swear on my kid's life.
Because they'd own up to that. Yeah, they
would have said, right, and all, we're going to smash it up as well, not just cut the tie. He went, it was the owner, Sam Aman. So the owner of the football club.
He was just as bad.
He's the one that slashed the tyres up. And then, but there was many stories, Kenny Cunningham, a lovely lad.
Lovely lad.
Lovely lad. As soon as you say that, lovely lad, we was like, that's music to our ears.
Oh, jeez.
And his missus ruled the roost. His missus picked his clothes, everything. So we would play a game at home at the Selhurst Park, shirt and tie at home, away we'd wear tracksuits. So Kenny would come in, and listen, the Irish fellas weren't a great suit. So it needed to work. So every time we cut his tie, So we'd go in there, cut his tie, just first home game, go walking there. Oh, his missus coming. Oh, that's out of order. That's wrong. Second home game, cut
his tie.
Cut his tie, walk in. You can see her face now. She's got a face like thunder. So we're all like laughing. We're all going, me and Robbie are going, no, you go and talk to him. I ain't talking to him. We're pissing ourselves laughing. Third game, cut the whole lot off. Do the sleeves, do the trousers.
Oh, Jesus.
Kenny walks in. She comes over to us. She goes ballistic. She is going absolutely crazy about all of us cutting his clothes up. So from
Can't hear you. Muted.
We lost. We lost you there.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Sorry. So he never wore a suit again. So that was the thing.
I don't blame him.
Oh my God.
We did it to a journalist actually. I think we had it was like a guy from the Sun or the Sport had come down about Wimbledon, the crazy game. This is the last one I took. There's too many to go on about. But he wanted to join in training with us, Kev. So I said, yeah, no problem. Where we used to train in just off the A3. Was like a memorial area where it was like you go behind the back, where a memorial area, then you come back into the field. So it's about half a mile little jog. So Terry Barton and Joe Kinnear, they're warm up. Off you go, boys. Go and have a little jog around there. So they've got this journalist with us now. He's got always journalist as well. Size 15 feet, skinny little legs. He's now because he's been slagging us off all week about how correct we are and everything. So yeah, come and train with us. Come and get to know us as what we are. As people. We take them behind this memorial. So we're out of the view now because all the cameras are there because it's a journalist and all the sky's up there. So out of sight, out of mind. So we get him behind there. We strip him. We beat him pretty bad.
Black and blue, yeah.
Yeah. And then we start bringing him down the hill on he start bollock naked. So we're dragging him now down by where everyone is. Leave him in the puddle where all the journalists are. He was obviously devastated and a bit upset as well. And that was part of the initiation.
Yes.
He didn't come there with a little cone over his bits and pieces, a few little cuts here and there, been dragged down the field, left in the puddle, and you couldn't get away with it now, Kev. We'll get sued.
No, you get sued. But welcome to the crazy gang. Welcome to the crazy gang. Yeah.
We're here next week. If you want us, we're here next week.
Oh my gosh. Was it like that at Newcastle or not as crazy? No, not as.
No, but we had good, as you say, banter. It was. I mean, David Batty, anyone that knows him, the Yorkshireman, he was cutting, and Big Al would say certain things. Les was Les. It's like any
good dressing room. It's a good dressing room.
Yeah, any good dressing room, any good team has people like that. They test you, you know. If he wasn't having a good time, and you know, like Laurent Robert, lovely, sweet left foot, good player. Yeah. Come from PSG, he was like, "We do this." We've had David Ginola, so don't give us that. We've had the real good player. You've come along. You're not a bad looking fella, but you ain't Ginola.
You're giving it the big one,
yeah. So he's giving it the big one. And Andy Griffin, who we used to look like Freddie West, so we used to call him Fred West. So they've gone into a tackle, these two. So they've gone in, and Lauren Bird's like flicked him back a little bit. So us being us, like me, Rob, Speedo. Don't take that, Griff. Don't take that. So the next ball, there's another right back, left back. They go flying into it. So I've said to Speedo, listen, if it kicks off, we're going to have to break out. Because Bobby had left it. Bobby had said, look, you lot sort it out. You know, typically he made out he was looking at his phone. So I said, look, if it goes off, we know what Freddie's like. He'll end up chinning Lauren Rivera. We don't want that. We want him to have a little bit of fun, but we don't want it to go that far. So anyway, Lauren's gone on again. Griff's come flying for it. It broke in. So instead of us going for Griff, we've both gone for Lauren Robert, but I've nearly broke Lauren Robert's gym because I elbowed him. Speedo's gone to grab him and punched him in the back. Yeah, we've both gone, oh my God, we've either broke his nose or broke his cheek.
Smashed him up.
Yeah, we wanted to try and break up a little bit, but me and Speedo, I've hit him on the right side and then Speedo giving one on the left side. And Griffin's going, well done, lads. Thanks for looking
well done, lads.
Yeah, he's only 20 years of age. Oh, that's great. And we're like, oh, Lauren, we're sorry, like the French, you know, it's like he's calling us every name under the sun.
Yeah, of course,
We're saying, I don't want to train no more. I want to leave. I'm going.
I love it.
He was like this. It was like, oh, sorry, Lauren. He was fine, but just calm down. Just calm down.
Brilliant.
Oh my God, so good. Just brilliant stories. Right, we've been going for an hour and 9 minutes. Can you believe it? Oh, it's gone so fast.
We're
probably going to have to do a part 2, but I really definitely.
I want to hear some of Kev's. I want to be on the other side. But
well, look, because I found this for you, Warren. By the way, hold on one second, because you asked Kev about his hair, and look what I unearthed. It's not very. It's not very clear.
No, and that was the old Midland Bank five-a-side, Warren. You know when the final was at Wembley. That was I think it was about 12. 12.
Kev, you must have had the Ian Taylor bit as well, where they shave it at the side and a little wet log flicking over.
No, none of that.
Not Colonel Abraham. No, not the old. No,
none of that.
You're too cool. You're too cool.
None of that for me. It's either I'm going for the big afro or I had it taken off.
Yeah.
I had the little twists on top when I was at Forest. When I was at Forest with the little locks on top. I had that for a bit, but mostly I've been like just chill, just cool, man. Just cool.
If you've got to give Warren, because there's no way that shenanigans didn't happen with this quartet. Look at these lot, Warren. I mean, just some players. How about that? You've got to give Warren a little tail. You've got
I think the most important one was all the lads got on, right? All the lads got on so well. Obviously, Anders coming in, clothes got ripped up and DP in the boxers, and you know the script, Warren. You know all that. But I think the one with Theo Foley was brilliant. Where at London Colney, you've been to London Colney, you know what Colney's like, got all the hedges. And if a ball gets stuck in the hedges, you put your hand in, you lose your hand. There's that much thorns in there. And Theo was slating the boys, and you know what? Quinny said, let's do him in. Let's do him in. So Theo was a bit of a fighter, but against all the boys, he had no chance. So we're jogging around and Theo's giving it loads and all that. And the boys say, Theo, we'll knock you out. What are you talking about? He says, I'll take you all on. So him and Quinny start fighting. Next minute, I've got him round the neck. The boys have picked his legs up, and we've put him on top of the hedge. And he's fell into the hedge, and he can't get out. Warren, he can't get out. So we get to where we're training, and George Graham goes, "Where's Theo?" And all he can hear is, Gaffer, come and get me. They needed to get one of the machines to cut the hedge back to get him out. He was ripped to shreds. He was. He said, and listen, he come back. He wanted to fight everybody. He says, I'll get all of you. Oh my God, it was brilliant.
It's so good. So good. I got another one. Warren, look at his eyes here. Look at this. I mean, you two. I mean, seriously.
Southeast County's Cup. That was Warren. I was 15 at the time. We were playing Cambridge, funny enough, for Arsenal. Southeast County's Cup.
You had some legs on your son, didn't you?
And look at these legs. Look at these legs as well, Warren. You asked for it, so I'm showing them to you. You wanted a
FAU Cup winners. Yeah, that was
just
FAU
absolute.
Great times, my friend, eh?
Great. Warren, I wouldn't change it for the world, mate. I wouldn't change it for the world.
Would you? Because I think a lot of our squaddies, and thanks to all 220 plus of you in live chat, I know that everyone's taking some downtime before the Euros. We really appreciate you being with us here with us tonight. I know you guys love Inside the Dressing Room. We're definitely going to do a part 2 with Warren, because I didn't even get to the Derby days, by the way, and then the latter stuff. So we'll do a part 2. And then
remember them.
Oh, and also
I can't remember that.
Playing against this fit. Look at you and King Clancy here with
Georgie's probably getting out of the way.
What a player he was as well, by the way. I mean, what a talent.
He was all right going that way. The little Fonzarelli. He used to
turn his collars up.
Like, come walking in, he's like, Fonzarelli. Happy days.
Just too good. And Warren, of course, is now living in the United States. If you don't know, he's doing a phenomenal job covering the beautiful game for on Fox Soccer. And I found this too, because it kind of summed up, Warren's definitely an expat living here now who's flying the flag for our country, for England, and just doing great things here. Are you still coaching in San Diego, Warren?
Yeah, and before Kev asked, there's no Botox, all right? On that picture, there's no Botox.
It's all that sunshine. It's all that sunshine, mate.
Exactly. Sunshine. I'm paying for it with the tax, but it's been a great time for the family. It's all good.
Yeah, lovely. Brilliant stuff. Really good stuff. Well, look, we appreciate you joining us this evening. Kev, what have we, I mean, it's Sophie time now, but it's really, it's Kev time. you know,
I don't know about Kev time, but I just think, you know, somebody like Warren, who is kind of the same era. We're the same era, and our careers have gone kind of similar paths. You know, Warren played for a couple of really good teams. That Wimbledon team was a handful, and to hear some of the shenanigans there was great. But that Newcastle side was special. You know, they made some special signings, special place. And like I said, they were everybody's second team. And for me, to be able to chop it up with Warren for an hour and a bit here, and for the squaddies and everybody else who's going to hear it after, I'm sure they can't wait for part 2, because part 2 is going to be just as good as part 1. I tell you.
I know we have to. Warren, will you come back for part 2? Because there's quite a journey. Because also what I love and what I want to hear from you and Kev together is you get the highs and the lows, and then when you kind of realize also, you know, the twilight of your career and there's nothing you can do with Father Time. And, you know, it's kind of that realization where you can't play anymore and something else has to kick in. And that's the part from Derby onwards that I'd love to get in with you and Kev a little bit as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pleasure. And, you know, I know Kev obviously playing against him, but to get to know him now, you know, he would have loved being, and we would love to have him in the changing room and in the team. And I think we get caught up in what's happening now and, you know, the world that we live in, but there's some good people that we met. And I remember, just a brief story, like bump into like Mitchell Thomas, who I'd not seen for years, and Andy Cole had played against him, and we was away with PFA in a five-a-side tournament, and just reminiscing and having fun and realizing that it wasn't just we was having fun at our club, everyone else was having fun as well. And everyone else appreciated what they was doing. And it's not BS. Like, appreciated the fans, appreciated the coaches. And I think it gets lost in today with all the money and all the, you know, the politics that goes with it, that we played at a special time, and we loved and appreciated every minute of it. And it comes through when I hear Kev, you know, Righty, you know, all these people that have played at a great level. And it's just great to reminisce and have fun and, you know, hear that what we was doing, we're not the only club, because we knew at London Coney, or was happening up at Goodison, or was happening up at, you know, Notts Forest. So from my point of view, Kev, it's great being involved with you. And you know, we met briefly when you come over to LA, and you're always welcome to come and stay and have a beer or whatever. Nice one. Have a chat as well. But top class person.
Lovely, Warren. Cheers, mate. Appreciate you, mate.
You both are absolute top shelf. And I tell you something, one thing you should know, you've given us fans. We can go back and out when people talk about, do you remember where you were then? And you correlated to football and the season. And you guys gave us some of the greatest times of our lives. And to be able to sit here with you both and hear these stories. And I know that the squaddies and anyone new joining us tonight on the Highbury squad is loving this stuff. This is one of their favorite shows. And you take us to a place that we've never been. And I think that's what I love the most about this particular series on the Highbury squad. So thank you both very much.
Hold on. Warren, I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I'm doing a joke in here. I didn't like the career.
Anytime you want me to come on, Kev, no problem. Anytime you want me to come on.
Cheeky buggers. I love it.
Hey, the worst thing, Kev, as well, he used to do it with just a towel around him, and he was a big fella, Joe. So he used to have a towel around him, cup of tea and a bacon sandwich, and he used to cock his leg up and say, "Nah, no one's coming for yourself." You think I'm going to stay here for another 10 years?
Oh, jeez, no, brilliant.
I think that's probably one of my favourite stories of the show today. So thank you so much, Kev. Why don't you take us out?
Listen, we've had some great times with Warren already, but I can't wait for part 2. Hostess with the most is Sophie, absolutely brilliant. And all your squaddies and squadettes and everybody who listens, thank you so much. And you always remember, it's always Arsenal. Up the Gunners.